Let's read The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin by Beatrix Potter. The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin by Beatrix Potter. Some pretty pictures here. There's two squirrels gathering things from a plant. And on the cover page it says The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin by Beatrix Potter, author of The Tale of Peter Rabbit. It has a little picture of a squirrel holding an acorn. This story was written for Nora. It says on this page, this is the dedication page, it says, "A story for Nora." Oh, look at this pretty drawing. It has a squirrel eating something in a tree. This is a tale about a tale that belonged to a little red squirrel, and his name was Nutkin. He had a brother called Twinkleberry and a great many cousins. They lived in a wood at the edge of a lake. In the middle of the lake, there is an island covered with trees and nut bushes, and amongst those trees stands a hollow oak tree, which is the house of an old owl who is called Old Brown. There's a picture. This is a sketch of a tree. Ooh, it looks like it was done with watercolor and colored pencils. Do you see the owl in this picture? There's the old oak tree, and there's the old owl. Looks like there's a door and a window in the tree. Turn the page and I see another picture. There are so many squirrels in this picture playing in a stream with a tree nearby. Let's see what it says on the other side of the page. One autumn, when the nuts were ripe and the leaves on the hazel bushes, oh, those were hazel bushes. Yes. One autumn, when the nuts were ripe and the leaves on the hazel bushes were golden and green, Nutkin and Twinkleberry and all the other little squirrels came out of the wood and down to the edge of the lake. That must be a lake and not a stream. Oh. They made little rafts out of twigs, and they paddled away over the water to Owl Island to gather nuts. Each squirrel had a little sack and a large oar and spread out his tail for a sail. Let's look at that picture. Look at all of those squirrels riding on little rafts all the way to this island. How beautiful. Look at that picture. Looks like all of the squirrels are listening to the owl. Let's see what the words say. They also took with them an offering of 3 fat mice as a present for Old Brown and put them down upon his doorstep. Then Twinkleberry and the other little squirrels each made a low bow and said politely, "Old Mr. Brown, will you favor us with permission to gather nuts upon your island?" Oh, they are so polite. They ask permission if they can gather the nuts. What do you think Mr. Brown is going to say? There's the next page. Oh dear, there's one squirrel who's not like the others, is he? But Nutkin was excessively impertinent in his manners. He bobbed up and down like a little red cherry, singing, riddle me, rot-tot-tote, a little wee man in a red, red coat, a staff in his hand and a stone in his throat. If you tell me this riddle, I'll give you a groat. Now this riddle is as old as the hills. Mr. Brown paid no attention whatever to Nutkin. He shut his eyes obstinately and went to sleep. There's a picture of Nutkin with the owl, and the owl is closing its eyes. A couple of Nutkin's friends are there watching. Ooh, this next page has a pretty picture too. There's all these squirrels gathering nuts, putting them in little bags and handing them to each other. Let's see what the words say. The squirrels filled their little sacks with nuts and sailed away home in the evening. But next morning they all came back again to Owl Island, and Twinkleberry and the others brought a fine, fat mole and laid it on the stone in front of Old Brown's doorway and said, Mr. Brown, will you favor us with your gracious permission to gather some more nuts? Ooh. There they are, asking him politely. But Nutkin, who had no respect, began to dance up and down, tickling old Mr. Brown with a nettle and singing, Old Mr. B, riddle me ree, hitty-pitty within the wall, hitty-pitty without the wall, if you touch hitty-pitty will bite you. Mr. Brown woke up suddenly and carried the mole into his house. There's the picture. Nutkin doesn't seem to be very nice to the owl. It's like he wants to play with him. Doesn't realize he shouldn't be playing with the owl. He shut the door in Nutkin's face. Presently a little thread of blue smoke from a wood fire came up from the top of the tree, and Nutkin peeped through the keyhole and sang, A house full, a hole full, and you cannot gather a bowl full. Seems like he's pestering the owl. Would you feel bothered if Nutkin was doing this to you? There's Nutkin. The squirrels searched for nuts all over the island and filled their little sacks, but Nutkin gathered oak apples, yellow and scarlet, and sat upon a beech stump playing marbles and watching the door of old Mr. Brown. Do you know what oak apples are? They're not things you eat. They're galls. Wasps live inside of them. They lay their eggs in them, and sometimes they fall out of the tree. Those are not acorns. No, those are wasp nests, aren't they? Whew. Other insects also make galls. He's using them as marbles. How clever is that? Doesn't seem like something you'd want to play with, does it? On the third day, the squirrels got up very early and went fishing. They caught 7 fat minnows as a present for Old Brown. They paddled over to the lake and landed under a crooked chestnut tree on Owl Island. Ooh, look at them catching those fish. Oh, those squirrels are working so hard. Do you think Nutkin is one of the ones that caught the fish? It doesn't tell us if he did or not. Ooh, look, Nutkin's not carrying one in this picture. Oof, what is happening here? Twinkleberry and 6 other little squirrels each carried a fat minnow, but Nutkin, who had no nice manners, brought no present at all. He ran in front, singing, The man in the wilderness said to me, How many strawberries grow in the sea? And I answered him, as I thought good, as many red herrings as grow in the wood. That is a fun song. But old Mr. Brown took no interest in riddles, not even when the answer was provided for him. See, I think that maybe Nutkin is trying to make the owl laugh and smile with all of his little silly riddles and songs and rhymes. But I don't think the owl much likes that. The other squirrels, they know the kinds of things the owl generally likes, and they're bringing him just what they think he'll like. Wonder what'll happen with Nutkin. Sounds like Twinkleberry's a smart little squirrel friend, don't you think? Let's see, next page. On the 4th day, the squirrels brought a present of 6 fat beetles, which were as good as plums in plum pudding for Old Brown. Each beetle was wrapped up carefully in a dock leaf, fastened with a pine needle pin. But Nutkin sang as rudely as ever. Old Mr. B, riddle me ree, flower of England, fruit of Spain, met together in a shower of rain, put in a bag tied round with a string. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a ring. Which was ridiculous of Nutkin, because he had not got any ring to give to Old Brown. Oh, there's all the squirrels with their special little wrapped up beetles. Here's another picture. It looks like they're collecting roses. The other squirrels hunted up and down the nut bushes, but Nutkin gathered robin's pincushions off a briar bush and stuck them full of pine needle pins. Oh, my goodness. Oh, making pincushions. Well, is that very useful for collecting food? Not really. I don't think they can eat those. I could be wrong. Oh dear. On the 5th day, the squirrels brought a present of wild honey. It was so sweet and sticky that they licked their fingers as they put it down upon the stone. They had stolen it out of a bumblebee's nest on the tippity top of the hill. But Nutkin skipped up and down, singing, hum-a-bum buzz, buzz, hum-a-bum buzz. As I went over Tipple-tine, I met a flock of bonny swine, some yellow-necked, some yellow-backed. They were the very bonniest swine that e'er went over Tipple-tine. There they are with their little balls of wild honey. Those squirrels look like they worked really hard to bring those. Let's see what the next page has. There's old Mr. Brown sitting inside. Old Mr. Brown turned up his eyes in disgust at the impertinence of Nutkin. But he ate up the honey. Oh, he likes the honey. The squirrels filled their little sacks with nuts, but Nutkin sat upon a big flat rock and played ninepins with a crabapple and green fir cones. There he is. Crabapple and green fir cones. It looks like he's playing ninepins is bowling. Oh my goodness, he's bowling. He's so tiny. Looks like a lot of fun. Is he working? He's not. He's not collecting any food for the winter. Nutkin, you goof off. On the 6th day, which was Saturday, the squirrels came again for the last time. They brought a new laid egg in a little rush basket as a last parting present for Old Brown. But Nutkin ran in front, laughing and shouting. Humpty Dumpty lies on the beck, with a white counterpane round his neck. 40 doctors and 40 rights cannot put Humpty Dumpty to rights. Oh dear, Humpty Dumpty. Well, at least it's about an egg, right? Now, old Mr. Brown took an interest in eggs. He opened one eye and shut it again, but he still did not speak. There's old Mr. Brown and all the squirrels, and they're handing him his little egg in a basket. What happens next? What happens next? Looks like in that picture that owl is very interested in Nutkin, and Nutkin looks like he's dancing. Nutkin became more and more impertinent. Old Mr. B, hickamore, 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 hackamore on the king's kitchen door. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't drive hickamore, hackamore off the king's kitchen door. Nutkin danced up and down like a sunbeam, but still Old Brown said nothing at all. Not impressed with all of those tricks, is he? Nutkin began again. Arthur O'Bower has broken his band. He comes roaring up the land. The King of Scots, with all his power, cannot turn Arthur of the Bower. Nutkin made a whirring noise to sound like the wind, and he took a running jump right onto the head of Old Brown. Then all of a sudden, there was a flutterment and a scufflement and a loud squeak. The other squirrels scuttered away into the bushes. No, what has happened? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh dear. There they all are, looking. And there's the owl right behind the tree. When they came back, very cautiously, peeping round the tree, there was Old Brown sitting on his doorstep, quite still, with his eyes closed, as if nothing had happened. But Nutkin was in his waistcoat pocket. This looks like the end of the story, but it isn't. Here's a picture of an owl and a picture of Nutkin. Nutkin is down on the ground and the owl has a big claw holding him down. Oh no, all the other squirrels are looking on. Old Brown carried Nutkin into his house and held him up by the tail, intending to skin him. But Nutkin pulled so very hard that his tail broke in two, and he dashed up the staircase and escaped out of the attic window. Oh my goodness. That broken tail in the rabbit's, no, in the, not rabbit, owl's beak. And there's Squirrel Nutkin running away. See how he has like just a little fluff for the tail? That's why I said rabbit, because I thought Nutkin looked like a rabbit. But he's not. He's a squirrel. Oh my goodness. And there's all the other little squirrels looking on. Worried. And to this day, if you meet a Nutkin up a tree and ask him a riddle, he will throw sticks at you and stamp his feet and scold and shout. The end. There's Nutkin and there's all of his little cousins and brothers. Did Squirrel Nutkin lose his tail? That was a fun book. Let's put it away. Thanks for reading a book with me today.